It's starting. All right,
Yeah,
good.
it's like now.
So exactly. So we are on live right now. Everybody, you're welcome to our second meeting on the brand for Scratch, our team, and I know for a lot of people, they'll be watching this on as a recorded version. So we already have Rose in the house, and there's Samson in the house. So, Samson, can you introduce yourself, please?
Okay. Hello. My name is Sam Ngodi. I am a junior developer at Jigo Labs, and I've been like scratching for close to 8 years now. And I just love coding. Yeah, yeah. I'm also from Nigeria because people keep confusing me as a Kenyan. So I'm from Kenya.
I think we have to do a specific video for that and tell people that I am from Port Harcourt in Nigeria, so don't mix things up. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
there's been some questions about my like where am I from in Africa, like Nigeria.
okay, good. That's
Yeah.
nice. So, can you just do a brief in 2 minutes about your meetup with Mitch Resnick because it's very, very important. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So initially, I had a short. Actually, we met like two times. Like so, the plan was because I was before going to Boston, I already reached out to him that that we were like we need to bring Scratch Conference down to Africa. So he was like, okay, that's a really nice one, but we need to work a lot. Then I had the opportunity to get down to the US. Then I like when I flew down to Boston, I seized the opportunity, to connect with Mitch. So at that time, I we discussed initially on the one. There's this project in Port Harcourt where I'll be launching sometime in 2018 to work with schools to integrate Scratch into the school curriculum. So I've made some contact. Right now we're doing some kind of a pilot project right now. So I actually we had to discuss about that. And so, but the most important thing we talked about was um, the conference itself. Mitch was saying that we need to start a plan. Like, if you're planning on hosting the Scratch Conference 2019, we need to definitely start a plan. And he was actually talking about, looking for the right place, looking for the right venue, thinking about what type of workshop we intend to do. If we want to make workshop like the one recently in Bordeaux, that is kind of open where different people from different organizations can just come in, or we just do or a scratch focused workshop like the one he shared some idea of the scratch conference in Brazil, which he attended some months back. So there he started that we need to start a work a team, draw plans and share with the scratch team in MIT so they can look for a way um, for them to help us to bring a good working plan. And also start one important thing is to start a momentum, like start doing something in Africa to create the vibe to to get us ready to use this, because it's not all about just hosting the conference. It's all about making people to know that there's going to be conference, and for us to be ready, we have to start doing things for people to share, because creating a conference is giving people the ability for them to come anywhere around the world, to fly down to one particular place and to share the story of what people and what they're actually doing, and since Africa is more like offline, it's very kind of difficult. That was like one of the challenges we were like discussing, since the scratch was kind of offline. It's very difficult to get a real data of who and who is actually using scratch, so it's now up to us as the people that the scratch team in Africa to reach out to go down to our country and create some kind of buzz, some kind of workshops for people just to know that there's something called Scratch, and there's going to be something that will be happening sometime 2019, and we have 1 year, because the year will be running down in less than 10 days. So we have like less than 1 year to create a whole lot of plans together. So it was really, really big talk.
All right, that's very good. Well, I appreciate the fact that you're able to like give us the updates on the information. Now, so things that you talked about, which are very, very critical, based on the fact that we've actually seen that Rose, Simon, and Max were available. We talked about they had some of the things that they're already working on, especially for Rose and Simon, what they were doing on their team. So it's really great when we during the first video and first meeting that Rose shared about so many things that they were already doing. Then Max also talked about the bit of things that he is doing already. So now um, I'm thinking of what I'm thinking of right now is that 2018. What will be our focus? Because now it's important that now since we've actually highlighted the fact that we need to do the Scratch Conference 2019 and all that. Then 2018 needs to be a board of activities that then we need to create a fusion of those activities. If it's possible that we can actually do some joint collaborative activities across Africa, that's going to be very nice. Now, Rose talked about uh, Ida coming around. Hello, Rose. Hope you are there.
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. So I'm talking about what we. Samson just shared some bit about what he discussed with Mitch Resnick
Mm.
and the fact that it's going to be that we have to plan things and get them along. Then look at how we're going to create a buzz for Scratch
Mm.
in Africa. And since most people in Africa too are that join Scratch are like the offline thing. They are not. Most of them are not online. Then it means that we need to have a program in which we're going to be bringing people together so that they will share what they're doing about Scratch and they will have a discussion about it. So that's the question. So now I'm talking about how we're going to create engagement in 2018. Now you shared some of the things that we talked about, so we're not going to go over that in the first video already. So now I want us to discuss. Maybe we'll continue on the working document on some of the things that we need to do together that will create a collaborative effort in 2018.
Okay.
I'll quickly give a start to that. Number one,
Mm.
I think we need to run with uh, a page or a spreadsheet or something online that will be sharing information of the activities that we're going to do in 2018. It's going to really help everybody that will be able to follow up with what we're doing. There's something like that on the main Scratch website. Talk about the Scratch days, and the Scratch conferences, and people putting the information of the activities there. Especially like the Scratch days is going to help us too as well, and we can actually start to share information. Then apart from that, uh, you had already talked about the fact that you can share a part of the Scratch Bordeaux website for us so that we can actually start to impute some details of what we're doing. So, and I think that could actually serve us very well in the fact that even if it is links of what we're doing, we can actually put information, or if it's videos or pictures or something like that, then we can actually update from there to every other people in Africa that we want to share the information about what we are doing locally. It is very, very important that we need to do that. So Now then, thirdly, I'm thinking of joint activity. Um, we thought you are doing either uh, in Tanzania. I, I hope Rose is still here and is still listening. We're doing either. I mean, you're doing either in 2018.
Yes, I am. I
And
am here.
okay, exactly. Okay, good. Yeah, you're doing either in 2018, and if it's possible that people can actually fine tune something, then it should be something that should go across the East African nations, and not only for Tanzania, but maybe perhaps like Kenya or South Africa, whatever. I'm thinking of Nigeria too, so we'll try to think of the logistics to actually bring either across to Nigeria. So now, if we're able to do some joint activities like that to start to bring us together towards whatever we want to plan together in 2019, then I think the fourth thing, I'm going to stop now, is the fact that Rose mentioned something in the last video, and he was talking about last meeting, and she was talking about the fact that they have a program in progression towards the Africa Code Week, and I think we can partner with SAP to make sure that some of the programs that we're going to do will run to a climax at the African Code Week. If we're able to like fine tune something or develop a project towards that will work different kinds of initiatives locally, then it will be run towards towards the Africa Code Week, which is an annual event for Scratch. Then it's going to really help us to create more buzz about it. So I want us to share our own views about that and give us suggestions for 2018. Rose.
Yes. I'm trying to remember what's the first thing you shared, but I think these are good thoughts. You started by having an Excel, or you giving us a link to a web. I think that's
Absolutely.
perfect, so that we follow up what everybody else is doing. And whenever we can offer a hand, of course, be able to do exactly that.
Okay,
So
good.
so that one, I agree with it. And did you go straight to Ada, or did I skip something?
Yeah, I talked about I talked about Scratch Days. Okay, but it's in fusion with what your
Oh,
opportunity
you
of,
you
but
you offered. Okay.
exactly. So and I went to Ida. Basically, that's just a sample of one of the things that we could actually do together. That's what I'm saying. So I said that Ida could be more than Tanzania in the sense that the group could come to Tanzania, then go to Kenya or some other East African and Southern African countries and present the show. Or what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely. And even when we were thinking, we were not only thinking of Tanzania. So
Okay,
for
good.
Tanzania, it was only for launch. And then we were thinking more of East African. But now I hear that you've brought up a West African interest. And maybe
Yeah.
we can also think about South African interest.
Okay.
I think it's all possible. We only need to figure out how we are going to arrange for the funding to see that there's enough funding to actually have events in all these other countries. And since we have a whole year, we could always start somewhere and say, as we plan for a year, so we can plug in somewhere within the year. And I think I also like the fact that you also took the approach of having Africa Code Week as a climax.
Yeah.
So that's during October there. That's where we're almost ending the year, and we're climaxing with some sort of an event.
Yeah. Exactly.
And yeah, so it could be that it goes across other countries, or we put it in one country and bring in people from other countries, whichever is possible.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree that it's a constructive way of thinking of this, and then definitely if we all think of Africa Code Week as a summit, that's excellent, because then having multiple events happening at the same time in multiple countries, I think that's the momentum that we're looking for.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Samson, what are you coming up with?
So about what about the last video, I had to like glance around to come up with an idea. So I was thinking, I kind of agree with what Rose is saying about, you know, coming with some kind of plan, either by hosting one event and bring people around, or doing multiple events. Because one thing for sure is, if we want to do get any kind of funds, we definitely need to start planning like very early. Like if you're talking about hosting an event, what bringing either all the way from I believe London, right? All the way from London
UK, yeah, exactly.
down to maybe Tanzania or down to Lagos. We're talking about, fares, talking about huge amount of money. So in my opinion is, we just like what we're going to do in the next Scratch conference, we should just also use that approach to, bring a sub. The Scratch conference is going to be like the plan. Then this is going to be like the sub plan, but with the same approach of, starting to plan very early, because if you're trying to reach out to organizations, we definitely need to reach them very early. And secondly, I have some kind of problem in African Code Week. The way they run the program, especially in Nigeria. I don't know about other countries in Africa, but I have like some problems because the approach they are using. Like, speaking of what just happened the last some months back, I believe October. I remember, John, you mentioned that you're planning an event. So,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
for example, Port Harcourt is like one of the biggest city in Nigeria, as big as, is even bigger than Lagos. It's a local government in River State, where there are a lot of schools. But funny enough, there were like few few schools, none in Port Harcourt, like none in the southern part of Nigeria. So this is the kind of problem we should be looking into. Now they are doing. I'm not saying they are not doing an amazing job. They are really doing an amazing job, like I said. But I don't really know who is actually running the the plans for Nigeria, because I can't speak for Tanzania, I can speak for Kenya. I'm speaking on because I had to go to the website and reach out to the list of where they are actually hosting the African Code Week, because I had to come back to the point that I have to leave Boston very early, thinking that the organization I told to apply for, this is an organization, they have space, a very good space, to accommodate up to 100 kids. uh, you know, they actually applied. I was like having that kind of mind. I was even trying to discuss with Mitch that I was having some kind of, an event, the African Coding, just like what you mentioned. Sadly, I came back. There was none in that region, not just in Port Harcourt. You're talking about 6 states in the southern part of Nigeria. So this is now what I did was, after I saw what happened, I tried to tweet them. I don't know, maybe I didn't get any reply. So what I did was, there was this event called Google Developers Group, which I'm part of. So I reached out to the program manager for the developers in Sub-Saharan Africa. So I was talking about possibilities of him coming with this kind of a local plan of African Code Week, but just in Nigeria, since we have problems in getting um, requests from other people. So what I did recently, I shared a link. I don't know if you can go to the group chat. I shared a link on Twitter, two links on Twitter. Me and the Google country manager for Google Developers Group, we went to a school in Nakot. Um, it's already Scratch as a learning tool, like it's already a curriculum. And if you go to the link, you see this is girls. There were a lot of girls coding in Scratch. there were a lot of people, doing an amazing job. Right now, they had to give me flash drive of about 20 of their projects to help them share it online on the Scratch community. This is what we need to start doing. But just like what you mentioned, yes, of course we can, use African coding as a way to share the momentum. But the thing is, we also need to make sure that every each and every part of state, African state are being touched. Is one out of each state. Because I tried to make like they were like more in the eastern part, more in the eastern part of Nigeria. Um, they were like more in Lagos, more in Abuja. But when you're talking about the whole southern part, there was like none at all. So it was quite challenging, and people how to reach me like, I'm trying to host an event for African Code Week. How am I going to apply? I really have no idea on how you can do that. I just give them the link. Most people applied, and they actually had to reach out to me that there was no reply from the team. So I don't really know who is in charge or the ambassador for Nigeria. That's something we definitely need to look into if you're trying to create a buzz, because this is just 2 to 3, I believe 3 to 4 days workshop just for learning. The point is teaching people within this time, and giving them also a platform for them to go home and start working on what they learn. Try to reach out to the community, because the way I got into Scratch was, it was just like African coding, but it was hosted by Schlumberger. They partner with MIT. They send people like Claudia down to Port Harcourt. They bring in schools all over Nigeria, at least one school each state. That's the ratio. Bring them down to Nigeria. They teach Scratch, and what you do is, when you teach 4 to 5 students from each schools, the students go back to their school and create some kind of workshop. That's how it's more like spreading like a virus. You bring in small and teach, and they go in, and that's how the Scratch was like everywhere within Nigeria for the past 3 to 4 years back. But now it's
something.
Yeah.
Something. Sorry. If I get you clearly, you've talked about what's happened with Africa Code Week and how they've actually gone about it in like Nigeria, and the fact that it was actually not spending appropriately. But what I'm going to say right now is that I think that is why, like, our initiative on BAM4Scratch is really going to help out. Now that we are coming together and we're discussing about it, and we are relating with even the MIT Scratch team and the Scratch Foundation and all that. Now, it gives more credibility to what we have to say. And if there's going to be any Africa Code Week right now, in fact, what we're going to do is that with this forum, with this team, we're going to speak directly to SAP that is in charge of this Africa Code Week. Now, and we're going to liaise with them based on some of the things that we're able to come up with, in our group. So now, if we're able to, and since this is a multinational effect, I added someone from SAP, the Nigerian country manager for Africa Code Week, Mr. Ajayi. So he's receiving all the mails that we're sending across. So now, what's going to happen is, and here now, this is actually a bigger platform for us in Africa. We've got people from UNICEF, and we've got people from Europe and all that, and it could actually get bigger. So with that, some of the things that they had formerly in Africa Code Week, I know it's going to subside, and we're going to think in a more expansive way to do things. And while we talked about having a climax at Africa Code Week, is just very simple. Since Africa Code Week has actually been running in Africa for like more than 3 years now, it's becoming a known name across board, not only for coders but for for governments, because governments are relating with Africa Code Week. Rose, hope you're still there.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so governments are relating with Africa Code Week, and they have a whole lot of people. So now they could actually be a springboard for the Scratch Africa conference for us, absolutely, because now we're going to get across to them, speak with them based on the fact that there is an initiative going on, and we're going to have a conference in 2019. So, along with whatever they are going to plan from their own organization for Africa Code Week, they're going to align with what we're going to talk about in BAM4Scratch too, and it's going to really make things much more better. So we will definitely get over that. So that one is not going to be a problem, and I'm very sure that they need us as much as we need them. In fact, they need us more, because now that we're working with so many of the organizations and agencies right now, it's going to really make a fusion and make even Africa could be much more emphatic. Then quickly, I'm going to say this. I shared a link on Google has a funding for computer science professional development, specifically for teachers, and the link is on the working document. So now they are giving up to, like, in East Europe, Middle East, and Africa, they're giving up to like 10,000 euros, I think, per project. So I sent something like an information about it to Simon and Max, that we can actually start to think of creating a generic proposal along with the funding, because it's the funding, you make the request before March 2nd, and it should start from June 2018 to like September 2019. So now it's a window that we could actually make good use of if we have a very solid proposal that is now multinational in a sense. It will be localized, but at the same time, we will have an handshake and exchange across our various organizations. And if we're able to like do that, it's going to be used to train teachers. Rose talked about one of the strategies they are actually coming up with is for them to train teachers so that they can actually get across to the students. So this could actually be openings and windows for us to get the required funding that we need to actually move this movement forward. So please, you can actually go through the link. Then after this meeting, I'm going to do a breakdown of those aspects to which we can actually work on the working document. Then we should come up with other ideas that we think can actually work. If we run with a proposal that is generic and it's multinational, it will definitely push us further to get the funding from Google, because now Google wants something that would spread out and that could actually make much impact. And if we have something that we know we can actually work along with ourselves and collaborate, and it is spread across different countries, then it will meet with Google's objective of that funding, because those are some of those things that we need to understand. That now when there's the funding, we need to understand what's the primary objective for that funding, and if we're able to like get along with the primary objective, then we'll be able to get that funding for whatever we want to use it for. So that's the thing. So please, I think we'll need to talk and discuss about that, but that will be on the working document. So we're running out of time. I don't want us to take too much time.
Okay, John. Yeah. John, did you say it's 10,000 euros?
Yes, I think it's 10,000 euros.
Yeah. Yeah, but are we looking at this as just one source? Because 10,000 is nothing.
And no, it's not for every, it's per project that we initiate, not for every country right now. What I'm trying to say in essence is this: in Nigeria, like in Port Harcourt, something can host an event across board, and you'll be able to get 10,000 euros. I can do something in Lagos, and it's 10,000 euros. You can do something in a locality in Tanzania, and you have 10,000 euros. So I'm just talking about the fact that how we can actually create a linkage so that it will become more reinforced to the funders. Now, when they see that you're doing something that will make much more impact, let's assume, okay, you're targeting 1,000 students, and in 1,000 students, you have like 20 teachers that are going to be fully equipped for it. Then we have 20 teachers in Lagos. Samson has 20 teachers in Lagos, in Port Harcourt. So now, if we have a consistent model to which we are running, when they see the model and they know that the model is consistent and it's going to reach even those number of people, then we can request for funding for Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Tanzania, and we'll get all the fundings for each of these locations. So it's not just like a one-off 10,000 euros or something like that. No, that's not the situation. But it's really something that when we work with a consistent model that they know it's a winning model for across board, then each location can actually get the funding required for the project. So that's what I'm actually saying.
Okay. Yeah. So
okay, Samson.
Yeah. So speaking of which, I've been like looking around this website for months now. I think the perfect way to get recently there was a post. I was like actually looking how Google is actually funding projects. So recently there was a post. They collaborated with Scratch because the new Scratch 3.0 is based on Google Blocky, the program. So Google is more into Scratch than ever. So they recently made a donation in the US to a school around I think up to more than $1 million to sponsor. So now there's this project. I'm going to share the link now to the group chat. The link google.org. So this is a platform owned by Google to reach out to project like what we are about to do now. So like Rose, for instance, she have a platform where she reach out to girls and teach them coding. So she's since she have like an organization.
I lost you.
Okay. Oh, we lost something there.
What?
Okay, go ahead. We're not getting you clearly. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
From Rose.
Okay, yeah, for Rose, that's what I'm talking about. I said, right now you have she codes for change, right? Yeah. So now there's an organization under you, and your aim is to train as much as you can, as much as you can train within Tanzania. So the google.org donation is a project owned by Google. They sponsor non-profit organization. If you go down to the website, you see list of projects. They sponsor schools, they sponsors projects, they sponsor conference. As far as this connects to helping lives, education, coding, and lots more. So this is going to be like a point for us to get the solid funding, especially for the Scratch conference. This is like when we definitely need to look into this grant and explore our chances of connecting. And one way of getting this grant is for us to reach out to the Scratch team, mostly Mitch, and because that's what Mitch actually discussed. He told me he was going to talk to companies like Google, SAP, and like some other organization to for them to focus more in Africa to listen to what we want to do. Like companies like Orange. He mentioned he's going to talk to them. So we definitely need to tell him, because I don't really know how you can. I don't think it's kind of open. So since they are like in the US, so he should have some kind of an idea. Chapinka, I don't know if you know Chapinka.
No.
Chapinka, she most of like about 20% of the Scratch team right now are all Google employees. So like a lot of Googlers right now working for the Scratch team. Yeah, so so this is going to help us a lot. We definitely need to look into all grants.
Samson, I think that's a very important thing that you've just discussed right now. Both the smaller funding and the bigger funding, we need to start to look at it, and how we're going to align what we're doing to be able to, excuse me, get those funding. So now that we've done meetings and everybody is kind of like ready to actually move towards it, then we can involve Mitch. And I think in the next today is Tuesday, before Friday, let's see how we can craft out an update on this, especially the funding and all, and some other, and the initiatives and the activities that we'll be doing, so that we will now speak, we will send to Mitch, you know, and talk about the fact that this is what we've actually been working on and this is how we're going about it. And for 2019, we want to start to engage the organizations now, so that it won't be difficult for us to get the required funding. So if we can actually get some funding, and you know, you have talked about uh, discussing with UNICEF and some other organizations too. You need to. I have someone from UNICEF. She couldn't make it because she's on a break and she's traveling, but she's going to, after Christmas, she's going to come online and see what we have been doing. So objectivity and the information that she has will be very, very useful for what we're going to talk about. And now we can actually align BAM4Scratch into like a UNICEF project. So if we align that, the UNICEF is going to seek for funding for some of those projects. So it's a win-win-win for us in every dimension. So now I think we need to just outline some of these things in maybe in bullet points, then get across to Mitch and tell Mitch that this is what we're expecting and this is what we're working towards, so that he can actually start to come up with his ideas of what he thinks he can actually come up with and linkage to all the organizations that we've talked about. So I think between now and Friday, let's see how we can actually, every one of us has access to the working document. So let us just try to input some information that will put it together. By Friday, I should be able to like arrange that and put things properly. Then we'll see it in bullet points and we're able to like speak to Mitch about it. What do you think about that?
Awesome.
I'm on board.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So that's then I think, let me see, is there any other thing that I have written down here? Okay, I think we've actually done justice to some of it. Then please, I think Miriam has actually not been on this meeting for a while. I mean, for the two, she was the one in charge of the discussion platform on on Scratch, on the Scratch platform, the Africa Discussion Forum. Samson, you're there. What's happening about the forum? What's the update?
You know, I would, yeah, I'm still there, but I would just I'll have to be frank. The discussion there is slim. It's too slim. The first 2 weeks after they created the platform, you know, there were like a lot of questions. I think there were questions around translations. You know, people need to localize content, and yeah, and also I think something just came up. Mitch had to talk about Catrobat. I met with is it Catrobat? That Catrobat, right?
Yeah. Catrobat.
So I met with the owner of Catrobat at Silicon Valley when we did something with Google. So we actually, you know, there was like this project where he wants to like advance the software, and at the same time, after meeting in San Francisco, we even had to travel, not together, but I also met with him in Boston. So I asked him some questions around how we can exploit his software, you know, because most questions I've been receiving so far is I've been creating a lot of programs in Scratch. What if I want to make it as an Android app? You know, questions like that. You know, do I need to, you know, create a project and be dependent on the Scratch software to run it? What if I want to put it on my iPhone, my Android, my, you know, something else, and, you know, show it to my friends, for my friends to run it without, you know, using Scratch? So that was one of the discussion, me, Mitch, and him. We started discussing that we were talking about Scratch, BAM4Scratch. You also need to look into this tool because it's independent. You can create a project and make it an Android app and, you know, share it with your friends, you know, for people to, you know.
Okay. Sorry, you know, Samson, you know what we're going to do is this. Put this information on the working document. Then I would make sure I engage Miriam and ask okay, how the next line for the discussion page, because it's an opportunity for us. But if we don't effectively make use of it, then it becomes a challenge. We can actually get the best out of it. So now I think Wolfgang Slanning is the person in charge of Catrobat, as I say, Wolfgang Slanning.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we talked a bit in Bordeaux. There are several other initiatives too that we could actually incorporate right now. So, but we need to work together collaboratively to make use of these things better. It's not just one slot, and that's why BAM4Scratch is actually trying to aggregate most of these efforts, in Africa. How do we aggregate them? Now, even after this, we're going to get across to him and talk to him about, okay, the European the European team. How do we get? We know all of them. They are they listen to us and all of those things. But how do we aggregate the effort, which is very, very important? Rose has actually been doing, and the chief of code, she goes for change. They've actually been doing a whole lot of things, the ITU project and all that too. So now let's try to see how we can aggregate so that it will become a bigger part and we can actually get it across, because Africa needs intensive work. A lot of things are not on ground for us. Then foundations are not actually in place. So we have to create a whole lot of things. So, and moving in a single bond, singly instead of in a bunch would not really help. So now the discussion forum, we need to activate it and make it come alive. If there's going to be something that we'll be doing on the discussion forum every month in 2018, let us know, so that at least we'll be creating buzz from that perspective, to that even if it is a tweet chat that we're going to talk about things on the discussion forum every month, we will know and we'll designate a time in a calendar in the year, so that we'll do for 12 months. It's going to really help. So we need to get activity on. That is very, very important. So now I think we're going to get to Marion about that. So let's see. So any other last words before we close this meeting? Rose?
No, I think I'm okay. I'm okay. I just wanted to add from what Simon was talking about Catrobat.
Okay.
We've worked. Is the Australian guy, right?
Germany.
Australia.
Is that Germany or Australia?
No, it's not from Germany.
Austria. No, it's
from Austria, exactly.
Austria.
Yes.
Austria.
Yeah, we've worked with him and we've just launched a Swahili version for Catrobat. So I understand that you're seeing it as an opportunity, especially in Africa, where we actually have more mobiles compared to. So I do agree, and I look forward to what we can discuss more about it and how we can push that around.
That's very important. So Samson, your last word.
I think everything everything is fine for today. I can't believe I don't want to talk over. So at the same time, I'm going to try to write some things on the doc.
Okay.
And eventually because like I said, we definitely need to put Mitch on the loop at the same time, because he has the platform to connect with people that can sponsor any kind of program we're trying to do.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So please contribute your information. By Friday, we'll kind of have some bullet points that we're going to draft. Then immediately we have that on ground, we'll send an email to Mitch and UX2, and we'll get them on board and start to talk to them on. These are the things that we're thinking of for 2018 as a precursor to 2019. And let's see how we can actually put all of those things together. So the platform on Scratch Bordeaux site, and how we can actually put it together. So let's think about it too, and what so that we have a dump site that will put in all our activities, and to be much more easy for everybody to know what we can actually collaborate together on. So thank you, Rose.
Okay,
thank you.
Sorry, John. Wait.
I just
Okay, Rose, the site from you already opened for us, or is it still reading Scratch Bordeaux?
Now he said he's going to put give us a part of the Scratch Bordeaux site. So now I'll leave it to him to decide how we're going to do it. So we're going to ask him, like, now we're ready. We engage him on that. You see the chart that we're going to ensue between us. It's on the email chat that we are conversation that we're having. So what's going to happen is this: I'm going to ask him to give us a lowdown of how he wants to release that to us and how we kind of like manage it. So I think he will come up with the information about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and one more thing before we go. What are the plans for Scratch 2018 in MIT? Because I think that's also a really interesting way to market BAM4Scratch. Because yeah, because I know a lot of
didn't they just release like a call for people?
Yeah, but the deadline is just close. It's like February. It's not that.
Yes, so you have to start to put things together. So if you want us to do a joint thing, put information together, yeah, we can actually do that. So let's know, like Samson, let me know what you're working on. Rose has a big team already in Tanzania, Simon and the rest, and they already have some fantastic thing that it will be accepted at MIT. You understand? So let's see how we can actually work together on that. We could actually bring a lot of presentation from BAM4Scratch. So immediately we have an outline. Really be an opportunity for us to discuss so much at the MIT conference. So Rose, any other thing from you?
No, nice talking to you guys.
All right, good. So Samson?
Thank you.
All right. So from Rose, Samson, and John, it's nice speaking and chatting together. So, and I hope that if you're watching this video at any time, you contribute to the doc page. So let's know what you think and let's see how we're going to work together. We need to work in a collaborative effort to make Scratch 2019 a success. So thank you very much, everybody. So Rose, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Samson, Kacha. Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So I end this broadcast right now.